All right, welcome. Here is a program created for you. It's a staff planning program for as your business grows. What does your company look like when it relates to staff? How do you staff a company? How do you know you're staffed properly? How do you pay for this type of staffing? And what is about right and what is exactly right? And there's yings and yangs to the staffing, and this plan kind of clears it up for you. As you're a smaller company, an owner's going to play a larger role in the overhead piece or wear many hats, and this will show you that as well. And where an owner has to wear those types of hats. But as you grow, the owner can then decide, okay, what type of staffing do I need to bring on so that I can eliminate some of these hats? And what does that look like as I grow from $1 million to $2 million to $4 million to $7 million to $15 to $30 million, okay, and on up. Okay, so this is a scalable staffing model plan. I used something very similar to this, not this elaborate, but it was the same thought process is what got me to put this program together. That and the help of the coaches, the Nexstar coaches. Take your hats off to them. They've all kind of looked at it and gave their input in it as well. So this is kind of where we're at, and we wanted to deliver this for you guys. Now, this is an introduction here, and I'm going to just kind of show you the tabs on it. One tab is a revenue build tab. So we start with the revenue build. What are the drivers for the revenue in the company? And the drivers are your service technicians and your installers. So I've got it by the 3 departments: the plumbing, the HVAC and electrical, the service departments, and the installation departments. So that's going to be your drivers, and we'll go through that separately on a tab basis. Now, the other tab is the staffing assumptions. You're going to have some assumptions. So the number of techs you'll need per CSR, the number of CSR you'll need before you hire a CSR manager, and so on. So these are some of staffing assumptions as you go through this. Now, this is a set piece that we put in based off of the conversation the coaches had. This is kind of where we fell on. And you can feel free to change this, but it's not what we would recommend right now without talking to one of your coaches for a good reason for wanting to change this assumption. But we wanted to lay this out to give you the flexibility to do that, because we know that all companies aren't exactly the same, but 99% of you are, okay? And let's look at then we came up with the position pays, and this position pay now is coming straight out of the Frank Blau Jr. financial survey, the annual Nexstar financial survey by position. Okay, now we do have some positions in here that we don't have an average for by position, and they're highlighted here in red. Okay, but we do recommend these positions. Somebody's wearing this hat in your business at some point. Anyway, so here's an average staffing model. So, and we'll go into detail on that on the position pay piece, and then the staffing plan. Okay, these are gonna populate, and then you'll be able to put people in and be able to level out your staffing plan. You can determine who's wearing what hat and what percentage of each hat is that person wearing. And we'll go into detail with that, and then couple that with what are they actually being paid for wearing that hat, and then their total pay is down here. So it's a great communication tool to be able to show your folks, based off of what you're doing today, these are the hats you're wearing, and this is what your pay is going to be according to that hat. So as you grow, you may take a hat away from somebody, and they'll know why you're taking a hat away from them and which job they may be wearing a full hat with. Anyways, we'll go into detail with that here in a minute, and then we'll end up with the org chart. What is the org chart going to look like? And this is the Nexstar org chart, and it'll self-populate, and it'll tell you exactly how many people or portions of people you need in each hat in your business, and it'll lay that out over here on the column as well. And all of this is tied in. Nothing is ever inputted on this page here. Everything feeds into this page. And there's, in the white boxes, you'll see that's where you're going to do some inputs on each one of these other pages. Now, we do recommend that you leave this one alone for right now, but it'll be white because it's your program. And if you want to change it, change it. But talk to your coach first. All right, now you've gone through the introduction. Let's start now with the revenue build. And the revenue build's pretty simple to set up. Your first thought process, the revenue build here is the driver for the company. Okay, without the revenue, you don't need any expenses. You don't need staffing. You don't need anything. So we got to make some assumptions here on our revenue build. And if you've gone through your business planning workshop, you'll know what those assumptions are going to be. So revenue per position of employee here. So let's say you're a plumbing service technician. Let's say you're looking for $300,000 a year out of a plumbing service tech, and added a sewer install crew for your plumbing installation. Let's say you're looking for $1 million a year out of that crew. All right. And HVAC, you're looking for, let's say, $150,000 out of an HVAC service crew, and you're looking for at least $1 million out of an install crew. Okay. And electrical, let's say, let's treat it like plumbing. I don't know much about electrical, so I'll put it like that. And electrical install, I'm going to leave it alone. If you got something, put it in there. So then, now you've come up with your assumptions on your revenue build. Okay. Then we'll put in our actual head count. So let's just say you got plumber's name Jim, Joe, Bob, and you got an installer named John, and you've got an HVAC service tech named Scott and Jack, and you got an installer named Jody. Okay. And then you got electrician, and let's just call that electrician Bill, and yeah, let's just use one electrician in there. Okay, so now we've got 3 plumbing techs, and we have 1 install crew. We have 2 service techs. We got 1 installer, and we've got 1 service tech over here. So these will automatically populate. So if I add a tech over here and just say Eddie, okay, that's going to give me 4 techs. But we all know Eddie's not a plumber, so we're going to take Eddie out of there. Okay, so right there, that's given us our number of crews. So I've got 4 here, 3 here, and 1 here, and that gives us a total of 8 field employees. Now, it does not count the helpers, okay, because the helpers is part of this crew. So this is a plumbing service crew, one-man guy, and then this is basically, we match every time you put a crew together, we're adding a helper with them because we believe a crew should have at least 2 guys. Let's say there's another guy named Jim, so that automatically adds a helper, okay? So again, for staffing, this shows you you're going to need a helper with each one of these leads. So you're going to need a total of 10 people, but your total field crew is 8 out there. And then let's put in, let's say you've got 1 plumbing service salesman, and you've got another HVAC salesman, or plumbing installs. It's like a sewer salesman, yeah. Okay, and we don't have an install crew, so we don't have electrical salesman. All right, so that's how you set up the revenue build tab. So basically, by setting all this up, this is telling you what your revenue is going to be, $3.5 million, based off of your production crews, because it's based off of what you can produce is the revenue that you can produce. So that's why it's your driver. Your service technicians and your install crews are your driver here. Okay. So now we're gonna go to the staffing assumptions and work through that. If you have any questions about this, please contact your business coach. We'd love to walk you through it. Okay, so now we're over here at the Assumptions tab. This is our staffing assumptions, where we're going through this and we're saying, okay, we're going to need number of techs per CSR. So I'm going to need, if I have 6 techs, I'm going to need a CSR, a 100% full-time hat wearing the CSR hat. Okay, that's if I have 6 techs. Now, if I have number of CSRs to hire a manager, if I have 8 CSRs, I should have a CSR full-time manager. All they're doing is managing CSRs. Okay, so you're going to find here that we're going to need portions of people in our staffing level from our model. If we go back to our revenue build tab, we're using this revenue build tab. So here is our technician staffing model right now. So that's telling us, okay, I basically need 1 full-time CSR for these 6 technicians, 3, 2, and 1, right? So, and that's what the staffing model is. If this staffing model said per 8, let me unprotect the view here for a second. If that said per 8, I thought I was going to unprotect the view here. Now I have. Per 8, you can see that that went down to 0.75. So the staffing model is set at 6. I do recommend that you do keep the staffing models here. The coaches have looked at this and they've given it a pretty good sanity check. So I'm not saying it's gospel, but it's a pretty good sanity check. If you do want to change any of this, please speak with your coach and run it by, and let's talk it through first, okay? So as you go through here, these assumptions have been made for each position. So for a dispatcher, number of techs for a dispatcher, I need 9 for a full-time 100% dispatcher. All they do is dispatch, okay? Now that scales up. We've also got this dispatch piece scaled up in here. So you'll see how that goes if you have more technicians. Let's just take another one. Let's say an install manager. Okay, so for every 15 installers, I need a 100% full-time installer. But right now I need 13% of an install manager because I have basically 2 install crews. I've got one here and I've got one here. So I don't really need a full-time manager doing 100% of everything today, focus on the manager's hat in that department. But I do need a portion of that hat filled still. So somebody has to pick that up. And we're going to take you through the next tab of, well, a couple tabs down the road, who's going to pick that up and how you're going to disseminate who picks that up. But basically it's saying that you have 4.79 hats that need to be worn here in this company. Inside, 4.79 hats need to be worn in a company that has this structure of 6 technicians and 2 installers. So that's 8 field people, okay? Now, if this changed, let's just take a look at that. If you're a 100% service company, right, and you had 8 people, that 4.79 is going to change. And let's just give you that demonstration here. So I take the installers out and I just add another Billy, and then I add Jody. I think Jody Peter can run a service truck, I'll bet. Okay, so now I've got 8 service technicians. Now, what is that staffing model going to look like now? That 4.7 went to 5.3. It takes a little bit more overhead to run service than it does installation. So let's just go back there and look at the revenue. The revenue dropped. It was $3.5 million before. Okay? And because it's all service revenue, it's at $2 million. So we lost, $2 million in production with those installers. Well, let's go back now. Let's just say you're do nothing but install. And I'm only doing this as to show you how the program works. Okay? And let's just go back there and put in Jimmy, Joey, Bobby. Okay, and then down here you're putting in Charlie and Frankie. Frank calls everybody has an E on the end of it, so I got to do that. Okay, so now you got a $6.3 million business, and you have only got, let's say you've got, 3 service techs. You only need 4.6 folks, because installation takes less overhead to manage than service does. Okay, so let's go back to the original model here. I don't want to screw it up too bad already. And let's just do that. Clear the content there. How many texts did we have here? Charlie, I don't even remember now. Let's see if that's right. That's 10. Oh, I don't have these crews down here. Clear the content. Okay, so now we're back at it, and we're at $3.5 million. So let's go back to that assumption, and we need 4.79 staffing level. So you can see that different companies, it doesn't matter what the revenue is, depending on your staff. It's the type of work you're doing is going to be dependent upon what your staff is going to look like. So I want you to keep that in mind, and that's all based off of these assumptions over here. Okay, and then this kind of will show you how much of the owner is wearing, his activity is going to be in wearing some of these hats, and how much the overhead staff is going to be wearing some of these hats. And we'll give you a ratio of that and say, do you need more staffing? Well, right now you need more staffing because we don't have anybody filled in here. So it's going to tell you need more staffing, or it's about right, or you got too much staff. It'll actually tell you that here. Okay, so that is the staffing assumption tab. And we'll go on now to the position pay tab. All right, we just left the assumption tab, and now we're back over here on the position pay tab. And this one is set up for you. These numbers here are taken right out of the Frank J. Blau financial survey. So for a CSR, here is the average pay. And for a CSR manager. So we've put the position pay in here based off of the Nexstar, your company's averages in the survey. Okay? Now, there are things that we don't have in the financial survey that we do have on the organizational chart, and they're italicized up here. You can see it here as a trainer, a sales lead coordinator, fleet manager, warehouse, marketing assistant, and IT person. We don't have those positions documented in the Frank J. Blau financial survey. So I gave it my best guess. Okay? So if you're going to change any of these, you can change any of these. But for the most part, and also, if your numbers are higher or you're lower, put yours in here. But just to give you an idea what the target is, this is what the Frank J. Blau financial survey is showing. So if you're paying less, that doesn't mean you have to give everybody a raise. Or if you're paying more, that doesn't mean you should cut them, because you might lose them at the same time. But anyways, just wanted to let you know where we got these numbers at. So anyways, this is going to auto-populate after we hit this next tab. The meat is over here on the staffing plan. We created the revenue build over here on the revenue side, which gave us our staffing assumptions, and now we created our position pay, because over on the staff assumptions, we realized that maybe one person may be wearing 3 hats. So they may be paid 75% of their wage may come as a CSR, 10% may come out as a trainer, and another 10% may come out as install coordinator, and 5% may come out as a fleet manager. So they'll get 5% of this pay, they'll get 75% of this pay. So it's going to break it down for them of what their pay is. So we're paying them based off of the hat that they're wearing. Okay? And then tie in the owner's salary in here, plus any hats that the owner is wearing, he's going to get paid that same rate, so he can see, if his target is to make 100,000, is he really going to make 100,000? Because he may spend, if he spends 100% of his time up here as a CSR, then he's only going to get paid 35,000. So that kind of gives you a sanity check. Should you really be being the CSR in your company, Mr. Owner? If this is what your pay is, when you could hire somebody to do that. So anyways, just gives you an idea and a sanity check on where you're spending your time as an owner, and also gives you a sanity check of, how you could be paying your folks. And I'm clearly upfront with the folks. These are the staffs. You can be clearly upfront. You don't have to be. I personally like everything up front. Everybody knows what it is, and I'm very comfortable with that. You want to be this person? Do something to become this person. Okay? You want to be this person? Do something to become this person. That's the way I look at it. Okay? And I'm going to put the best person in the spot. All right? So from there, that's the position pay. All right? All right, just to recap, we've gone through the revenue build, we've gone through the staff assumption, you've gone through position pay, and now you're on the staffing plan. And this is where all the activity happens here. Okay, because over here, we know what our position staffing levels should be. Okay, and now it's time to fill them. So let's just start filling them. And let's just say I'm going to need an employee here, so I'm going to put the employee's name up here, and I'm going to say Jim. All right. And I'm looking down here, I'm saying, what is Jim's best capabilities? Jim is going to be the CSR. So he's going to be, I'm going to have him wear 100% of the CSR hat. So you see that required 1 automatically populates over here, and now the variance is 0. So I've got the CSR hat filled. Now I need, who's going to wear the CSR manager hat? I'm not quite sure. So I've got another employee here though I'm going to have to get, because see, if you add this up, you've got a total of four more people here. Got a total of 4 people to grab here. So let's just see who I need to grab here. So let's just say I've got a Jody, staff person. I'm going to say, you know what? Jody's going to be my dispatcher. She gets the company. She knows what's going on. So I'm going to make Jody my full-time dispatcher. You can see the variances there. And I'm also going to have Jody oversee the CSR that I have. So 0.025. And now Jim's down here at 100% capacity. Jody's at 79% capacity. And I'm okay with stretching these folks above 100%, by the way. Matter of fact, I don't mind stretching to about 120%. You stretch them past that, they might break. But we can, and at times you're going to have to stretch them past that, because as you grow, it's like an accordion. You're going to expand, and then you can contract their duties because you bring another person back on. But then you'll expand it again, you'll contract it because you're going to bring another person on. So at times, our employees are going to have to stretch and learn to stretch, because they may have to be taking on more. So at this point here, I might also have Jody take care of doing the trade administrator position, processing the invoices, because she's already talking with the techs on a daily basis. So now Jody's at 99.2%. Okay. So now I'm going to need a service manager right now. I need a half of a service manager. So probably going to lean on the owner here to take that hat right now. So I'm going to say, owner, you are now the service manager for this company, unless you choose to hire somebody. So this is the owner's column right here. So now that 0 variance is gone. So our goal here is to get this thing down to a 0 variance. And you know what? I'm also going to have Jody pick up this training hat here. 0.12. Jody's pretty sharp, so I've stretched Jody to 111%. All right? And I'm going to have a sales lead coordinator. I'm going to need another person in here. I'm going to pick up Scotty. And let's see, the installation department sales. I think I'm going to have Scott pick up sales lead coordinator position, a sales manager position. He's only at 53% capacity right now. He's also going to be my install coordinator. And he's also going to be wear the hat of the install manager. This guy is basically taking care of this whole installation department right now. And he's only at 79% capacity. So right now, I might also have Scotty take care of the warehouse. Because he's going to be ordering the equipment anyway, right? So he might as well be taking care of the warehouse. So now he's at 90% capacity. What else can I give Scotty? Well, right now, let's leave it at that. You know what? I'll throw the fleet manager position at him too. He's going to take a look, make sure the fleet gets checked up on. All right. So now Scotty's at 101%. So I got 3 employees and I've got them 100 or better. All right. So what other positions do I got there? I got a warehouse personnel runner. I may need a couple runners. I'm going to hold off on that for a second. Let's just say I'm going to put in Joe. Joe's in here. What are we going to have Joe do? Well, I don't know. What's Joe got to do? We'll make Joe the warehouse runner. We'll just run some parts out there when we need them. I'm also going to have Joe. You may be giving this more thought than I am, but this is just a demonstration. Joe's going to do our marketing. Very creative guy, Joe is. And the owner, I'm going to have the owner wear the operations manager hat. Still at this point. And, you know, Joe's got some time on his hands. Joe's pretty good at accounting stuff. Imagine he is, right? He's a runner. And he's a marketing manager? Probably not. So I may need to hire another person over here. Let's say I take in Susan on this. Okay? And I come over here and I go, well, shoot. Susan's pretty sharp. I'm going to have Susan will be my AP clerk, so I'm going to need a 0.08 AP clerk, an AR clerk. Really, a trade administrator does most of that work. We don't really have too much bill out. Payroll, they're going to handle payroll for me. And Susan's going to take care of my HR as well. And let's see what else I can give Susan here. I can give Susan the finance manager hat. Probably not. I think I'm going to give him the owner of that hat still. This size of company, I'm not going to give that hat away. IT person, you know what? Joe can be IT also, 0.069. So you can see here that I've got a part-time accountant that I really need. So this person's hours may be 3 days a week, maybe 6 hours a day, maybe a part-time person because I only need a half a person here. And this person here is in here for a stretch. Now I could take something off of Jody to give to Joe to reduce. So I could do that. I could make him the warehouse person as well. 7, and then take that off of Jody. Okay. Did you notice that also? I want to make sure you saw that 0.7. That turned red, so it's telling you you're more than variance. Here, okay. Pretty intuitive that way. And down here, let's see. I'm going to need. I guess I got everybody filled up. I got all zeros down here. All right. So here's what happens is it kind of shows me my levels. I really need 4.5 folks of overhead because I've got the owner wearing some of these hats. Now, if Susan could wear this service manager hat, I could give Susan the service manager hat if she's capable, or maybe I'm training her to do that. I do that and I take that away from the manager of the owner. So now the owner is working 53% of the time in the business and 47% on it, whereas before, he was working 103% of his time in the business. So we stretch the owner there as well as stretching everyone else. So let's just say we train that person, we trained Susan to take care of that. Oops, 0. And we put that back on Susan over here, 5. All right, and now we're back to all zeros again. Okay? And now here's what happens. The owner made this much money wearing his hats based off the owner hat. He's making this for the owner hat. He's making this for the hats that he's working in the business. So he's making $49,000 there, and he's making $49,000 here because he took some high-paying jobs. Okay, so that's what the owner is being paid. And now let's see, Jim is being paid $35,000. Why is Jim being paid $35,000? Because remember the position pay? It was $35,000. Now let's take a look at someone who is wearing multiple hats, like Jody. You know, Jody's wearing she's a percentage of Jody's pay. 12.5% of Jody's pay is coming as a CSR manager. So they're getting 12%. She's getting 12% of this pay. Okay. We're in 66% as a dispatcher, so you're going to get 66% of your pay is going to come from this level right here. All right. And 20% of your pay is going to come in as a trade administrator. So 20% of your pay, you're getting paid this amount on. And then the 12%, final 12%, you're the trainer. And that position pay as a trainer is based off of that amount. So this way, when you're expanding and contract, you take this away, you'll take this away and you're adding more folks if you're going to take this away from somebody. So there'll be other hats that open up and you'll throw Jody in one of those other hats, for instance. So let's just do that for a minute. Let's just say I'm going to add another tech. Let's just say a plumbing tech. So I come back over here and I add in Jack. Okay. And I go back over to the staffing model and I see, hey, I need some help again. So I may be taking this away from Jody as a trainer because I need Jody now to step back up here as to do more in the role of dispatching. So 0.778, and I need her to do more in the role of the trade administrator, so that's a 0.233. So they're getting it back down to 0 here, right? So I may even look towards Joe to jump up here to help out with the phones, or I could just, because I really can't stretch CSR more than that, than 100%. So I'll put Joe up here to 0.167. So he's going to do that. So now he's at 98%. And I just come back down here and I still need a trainer here. So who am I going to throw this trainer hat to? So I may have to take this trainer hat and throw it over here to the owner right now because he lost the trainer. All right. And I've got to pick up the service manager. And Eddie, or Susan, is now wearing 0.583% of her time is now in the service manager hat because she added a person on, so the weight of her job has her doing more as a service manager. Now CSR manager, who was the CSR manager? That was Jody up here. Jody's going to get overweighted, 0.146. So now that's all zeros. So the key here is just to bring this all back down to a 0 and see who's doing this. So now I'm back to 0.119. Warehouse personnel, 0.36 now. And 0.12, 0.36. So you can see that I'm bringing everybody down. You can see their numbers going up here. Starting to get myself stretched a little thin. So then as the owner, I'm wearing more of a hat. 0.296. AR clerk is now 0.9. Oops. 0.09, 0.09, 0.09, 0.183, and 0.185. All right, and then I got to bring this gentleman back up to a 0.301. The owner's wearing that. So the owner is now 74% invested in the company, working in the company, and 26% on. And we've got all zeros. Oops, except for my IT person. The IT person picked it back up, so he's got to be 0.07. All right, so now I got all zeros. So now everything's copacetic again. So now you come down here and, you know, nothing's changed here, but this changed because they're wearing different portions. So they took the trainer hat away from this person. And so now this is their pay. So it all lines up, it scales. And this is where you'll spend your time disseminating who's going to wear which hat, but it gives you clarity at the same time. As you're doing this, you can know exactly, set expectations for what people should be doing and where to train them on, and also to make sure that you've got everything covered. Is everything covered in the business? Who's responsible for that? You can go right to it and say, who's the warehouse manager here? That person is. Okay? Now the ops manager is going to oversee that warehouse person, and we'll see that next on the org chart. Now this will populate our org chart next. Okay? But this is your staffing plan and how to plan out how many people you're going to need and what it is they're going to do. Okay? Now, this is probably the most complicated portion of the whole thing, but this is where the work is going to be done for you, and that's why this took longer to demonstrate. Okay. See you at the org chart. All right, now our last tab, the org chart, everything populates into this org chart. You know, we just came off the staffing plan, where we populated this up and we did a what if by adding another person. So that's going to populate over here to the org chart. So in a service manager position, we need basically 60% of a full-time service manager. So that service manager can wear other hats at the same time at this point. Okay, he may be the dispatcher as well. He may be the trainer. And this is where you can get a clearer picture of what do you want that service manager hat to be, and then come back here and change who you want to have do it. But you got an idea over here about who's going to be wearing the hat, and that's going to populate back over here on the org chart itself. Okay, so it's basically saying that you need 6.027 folks to wear this hat, and the owner is contributing a portion of that 6.75% of a person. Okay, 26% he's being the owner, he's working on the business. 74% he's working in it. Okay, and that's going to happen as a company grows. Owners, please don't hesitate to get your hands wet. Okay, there is a role for you as your company grows, because there's no better person than to keep their eye on the growth and to see how the change is made and how the structure is growing. So keep your eyes on this. Don't delegate this off to just somebody. Even I still want all owners' eyes on this because I want to make sure that you're seeing what's going on the staffing, and that we are maximizing our staff to the most potential that we got. If we got a bunch of people down here at 60%, you're fat and not getting much done. Okay? So let's take a look at that. And so this just kind of gives you a clear picture. You know, their owner, there's a president and GM. There is no GM in most of our companies unless they're an owner of some sort, because the GM has to give away checkbook activity, and nobody's going to give away checkbook authority to anybody if you're the owner. Not in these size not in our Nexstar companies. Corporate America, yes, you know, SEC reporting. The shareholders are the owners there, right? The owners aren't in the business. Most of you guys are doing something in the business at some point, at some level. Okay, so you are the general manager, president in your business. Operations manager, however, oversees the operations, and this is what they oversee. The finance manager oversees everything under finance, and the marketing manager here. All right, so that's the org chart, and it all pretty picture. It's lays it out just like the Nexstar org chart is set up, and now we've got the infrastructure on how to fill it, the behind the scenes on how to fill this properly. Okay, and I've seen multiple org charts. I've seen you guys try to create your org charts, and please don't. Please don't. It's about the structure. The structure of your business is the same across the board. Okay? Don't care how big you are. Your structure is the same. Now you may have some different positions in here when you have multiple locations, okay? And you may have more hierarchy at that point. But when you're running out of one location, this is your structure. All right? Just understand this is your structure as you're doing that. Okay? So from there, I'll leave it at that. If you have any questions at all, please contact your business coach. Thank you.